Okay, in this video we're going to talk about kennel training to a sit. Now, a lot of people put a puppy in a kennel and think that that's the best way to just close the door and latch it, and that's the best way to train it. That's the old way of training. It creates a lot of problems, and it creates a negative association with the kennel, which is really unnecessary. It's very easy to stop or to help your dog have a positive association with the kennel. So the first stage for this is where basically I'm going to show, and a quick note, I prefer wire kennels over plastic ones. They break down a little bit lower, sit, as well as, so you can hide it under a bed. And also you can see through it, which in this exercise is going to be really important. Now the first stage with this is just making sure the puppy is comfortable going in the kennel. This is going to be scary for a lot of puppies. So the first thing at 11, she's already kennel trained, so I'm cheating a little bit, but she's our demo dog. 11. So what you do is you want to, first of all, you need to come up with a command word for the kennel. This one we're going to call it palace. Come up with a fun command word. If you have kids, have your kids come up with names, and if you have 3 kids, have each one come up with a name and tell you at dinner, and then mom and dad make the final decision. So anytime you give a dog a treat, they should hear the command word immediately after the treat goes into their mouth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss the treat in the kennel. When 11 goes in there and lifts it up, I'm going to say the word palace. Palace. Now you see she only put her front 2 paws in there. Some dogs won't go in there at all. If your puppy won't go in at all, what you would do is put a treat here, and trying to throw them works a little bit better. Dogs' eyes are very attracted to movement as opposed to placing it. So if place it here until the puppy's going here to get it without any hesitation, then move it here, then here, then here, then eventually put it just right there. So all the puppy has to do is just stick its head in, doesn't even have to step in. Now if your puppy, as I've talked about in other videos, if your puppy's back leg looks like this, they're saying, I'm not comfortable, I'm trying to get ready to run away. So the idea for this is keep on throwing those treats in there like that until the puppy will go in and get them without any hesitation. So this is the first stage. You don't want to do anything else until you get to this stage. And we'll have another video that we'll talk about setting up a long-term confinement area, which we prefer that you use as opposed to using a kennel when you have to go away or something like that. We really only use the kennel the way that we do it, really for potty training. But a lot of people do kennel train their dogs, so we're going to go over this. All right, so what we're going to do now, and she's looking for more treats. When you're doing this, another little tip, don't have a ton of blankets in there. This is just one of those, you can wash these. It's a nice, easy color. Dogs' eyes are not very good for color or for detail. They're great for movement. So make sure there's no patterns on it, and don't have just a loose blanket in there. Have something like this. It's just easier for you to do this particular exercise. All right, so I'm going to keep tossing these in here, and every time I say palace, every time that she licks it up. And we want her to go in and out just like this so she has no hesitation. The next stage is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to step to block her. Now she sat down right away. As soon as she sits down, take a step back, invite her out, and say come, or whatever your command word is to be released from the kennel. That is a lot faster than what you're going to be dealing with. So a lot of puppies, it's going to take a lot more time before they'll actually go in there. Be patient with it. And if you can't achieve it all in one setting, that means your puppy has a strong fear. A lot of times that's for people that are shoving their dog in and closing the door. That's why the long-term confinement area is a better option. But the idea for this, and we're already on stage 2, so now, palace. Now I'm throwing the treat after, and I'll talk about that in a second. But if your puppy won't go in or only goes in halfway, just don't put it in there. Just keep on dropping the treats and letting it come and go until it goes in there without any hesitation. So the next stage is what I just showed you. You're going to follow your puppy in there, and you're going to stop and block with its legs. Now 11 is big enough where it's not that hard for me. I have big clown feet. Some people don't have as big a feet as me. But if you have a little dog, sometimes it's hard to get your feet to block, and you do not want them to sneak out. If they sneak out, they're going to continue sneaking out. So one of the little tricks that we use sometimes, we'll get a tennis racket, and I drop the tennis racket so it's inside the lip here, so that, and make sure there's spokes in it, or the netting or whatever you call it, so the puppy can't get out, and that way you don't have to block it with your legs. In my estimation as a dog psychiatrist or psychologist, one of the things I found is, or 2 things puppies don't like, is when I'm put in the kennel, I'm restrained, and I'm only put in the kennel when I'm about to be abandoned. So when we do this, we practice with the humans, obviously you, the guardians here, and the door is open. We're blocking it with our feet. And the idea is we want the puppy to sit down on its own. We do not tell it to sit. If you tell a puppy to sit and it knows the command it sits, it's sitting because you told it to do so. If it goes in there and sits on its own, it's saying, I'm relaxed enough in here to sit down. And that's what we're trying to achieve, is your puppy being relaxed. Sit. Look at that great demonstration by 11. She's a smarty pants. Almost. All right. So basically when you're doing this, take your time and have patience. Don't rush through it. And if you're frustrated or the puppy gets frustrated, stop. Go play fetch, play ball, rub your puppy on the belly or whatever it is, and just make sure your puppy has a positive association with it. That's the whole name of the game. And I fight a lot of people who say kennel crate is the name. And of course you can call it kennel or crate. But if you come up with a fun command word and you say palace and your kids laugh or your friends laugh, the puppy sees and recognizes, because dogs can read facial expressions, I made everybody happy by going to my kennel. It's added motivation. It costs you nothing but a little bit of imagination. So I would strongly, strongly encourage coming up with a fun command word. Now, when your puppy is away, if you or outside the kennel, try to leave it open. And every once in a while, what you want to do is sneak a treat in there or something else so the puppy doesn't know that it's there. So I'm distracting 11, and I'm putting a treat there. And this is the reason I like using that liner, because you can see that because of the contrast. Now, I'm going to fool, or I'm going to mimic. There we go. Now, the idea is not to do that, what I just did. I just did it for video purposes. If you're in the room hanging out and the dog's away, you leave a treat in there and the dog goes in there. Now, ideally, we'd like to say palace when it goes in there, but if it just goes in there and gets a treat and it doesn't hear the word, it still had a positive exposure, a positive experience, and it's going to be more likely to want to go in the kennel in the future. So practice this until your puppy pretty much goes in and sits down right away. Once you get to that point, sit. Then you would be ready for the next stage, which we're going to cover in our 201, our puppy elementary class, which is kennel training down to a down.